So this book is called Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby van Pelt, and it was recommended to me by a friend a while back. Let's see. So it follows a couple different main characters, starting with Tova. Like, she is an elderly cleaning woman who works at a aquarium. Like, she's had a pretty rough time of it. Like, about 30 years ago, her son, who was only 17 years old, died. Like, the general conclusion was that he committed suicide, but she has never believed this, and it doesn't really change the fact, I guess, no matter what happened, that her son was gone. And somewhat more recently, her husband found out he had cancer and passed away. So now she is living alone. Like, she does have a small group of friends that call themselves like the Knit Wits, because they used to be, I guess, a knitting club, though they don't really do much knitting anymore. But for the most part, her life is very quiet, and she's been thinking really hard, I guess, about how she wants to spend her final years, since unlike her friends, she no longer has like any relatives, like no children, no grandchildren to help look after her, like when she's no longer able to look after herself. But she also is hesitant to leave her job at the aquarium because she's actually formed a kind of friendship with the giant octopus that lives in one of the tanks. So the octopus Marcellus is another one of the main characters. It's also the only character whose sections are written from the first person point of view. Like, apparently they only have an expected lifespan of about 4 years, and he rather resents being in captivity in an aquarium. Like, he has a lot of observations to share about humans from his time in the aquarium, and he's also a very, very clever octopus. Like, he figures out how to sneak out of his tank at night, and it's partly the discovery of this that initiates, I suppose, his growing friendship with Tova. Like, she's not afraid of him, and she discovers, I guess, that he's actually much more intelligent than people would expect, and he may know quite a bit more about her own like history, like the mystery of what happened to her son, than she realizes, and it's something that he's slowly beginning to realize as well. So the third character is Cameron. He is I guess he's, how to describe him? He kind of someone, like, he's a young person who's very adrift in his life, only I'm not sure at 30 years old he can be considered really that young anymore. I think when most people, anyways. So he's from California, and he's one of those people who is a little annoying in that he blames everything that doesn't go well in his life on having a bad childhood, because like his mother was a drug addict and abandoned him when he was young, so he was actually raised by his aunt. He doesn't know who his father was, and they aren't very wealthy, and like he can't hold down a job, but it's even though he's like fully, he's whole and healthy and apparently very clever, but anytime things go wrong, he blames it on other people. And then he discovers that he might have a wealthy father. So he arrives in town with the intention to shake them down for cash, and eventually finds himself also working at the aquarium, which is how these characters meet. And I suppose being in this town actually does him some good, because he starts to find his footing more in life, I guess, and starts to take more responsibility as he forms these new relationships. Lastly, there are a few sections on someone called Ethan, who is the owner of a small grocery store, which is also the only grocery store in town. And he has a crush on Tova and is trying to or hoping to build a relationship with her, but it's really hard going because she's not someone who, she's kind of closed herself off from people, I guess. And it's not until all of these characters come together in the story that things start to change for them. So this is kind of a mystery, but a little bit of an unusual one in that there really isn't, they're not really investigating what happened like 30 years ago, but all the characters that you meet actually have bits and pieces of the story, and as you read through their sections and as they each like explore this particular chapter in their lives, like you pick up the bits and pieces that eventually tell you what happened to Tova's son. And I do think the story ends really well, though I guess something I didn't like was that the general atmosphere for most of the story was kind of gray, like because it's a town that's kind of dying, I suppose. I mean, it hints that maybe it's coming back around, but it's one of those places that used to have a lot of tourists, but no longer does, and a lot of things are we don't have a lot of young people. Like a lot of the mainer characters are elderly and are thinking about what's how they want to arrange their final years and what will happen when they pass away. So there's a lot of gray, I think, in just the way the atmosphere comes across. But like I said, it does end well, and I think it was a very interesting story, and I think the way you all these different pieces of what happened was quite interesting, and I really liked the octopus's sections. Like, he has a sense of humor and also some really interesting perspectives on people and the way they interact and relationships in general.